Hi there, it's Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder here with another update to the good old arena grind. I have switched decks a bunch. I'm actually going to be doing a video on, I think I'm going to name it 5 decks you can play and be successful in Mythic that aren't called mono red. Oh wow, it is just a crap show here on Arena with the amount of Embercleave spamming. Mainly with mono red, but there's plenty of Gruul and Rakdos that are still spamming Embercleave. And it just, I think it has more to do on on Arena than MTGO, because I don't care what it says. The shuffler is so busted in Arena. And the thing is with Arena that we've noticed is off converted mana cost cards have an incredibly higher chance of being drawn than if you have a lot of similar cards with similar converted mana costs. I've noticed that with my Adventures deck. I have the what can I think of the Beanstalk Giant as a 3 of in the deck, and every game gets a Beanstalk Giant. No matter what, every game is going to draw the Beanstalk Giant because it's one of those converted mana costs that is off the rest of them. And I've also noticed that in now playing with my Phoenix deck is the Ox. I have a 1 of Ox, and you get it every game pretty early on. It just seems like it's a, and people will say this is anecdotal, blah 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 blah. It just played way too many, heard to other like anecdotal evidence from other people as well that there is something just off with the Arena Shuffler, and it's really striking when you play against mono red and Embercleave every game. Embercleave. It seems like that card just shows up way more. If you actually check lists, there is some decks that run 4 of, but a lot of times they're only running a 3 of. Anyway, I digress here with my complaints about the shuffler. Same thing with land count. It doesn't matter how many lands you run, it's just going to try to put 2 lands in your opening hand. It's kind of ridiculous. So anyway, let's get back to the video topic at hand. I've been having a lot of fun with this deck because Phoenix is near and dear to my heart. Phoenix is a card that made me a lot of money on MTG Finance when I speculated into the card because everyone else thought it was trash, and we identified it as a very strong card. Got in around $2, $2 to $3 a copy, and ended up selling out around the $20 to $25 mark on Phoenix. And I've also played the deck quite a bit. I was one of the first players to really get on the Phoenix train and try to break it in Standard. Of course, it was then broken in Modern before it was broken in Standard. But I decided to revisit it the other day because I was having a difficult time building a deck that had game versus the kind of the big 4. So right now in Standard, I would say the big 4 would be mono red. You're going to see mono red on at least Arena way more than you're going to see it in paper or anywhere else. It seems like there are a number of factors for that. One, it's very cheap to build. I believe it only requires 4 mythics, so you can just get those 4 Embercleaves. It doesn't have a mana base that is very tough to compile either, because you just need the 4 rares in the form of the castles, and then the rest can be just basic lands. And you also have a lot of commons and uncommons that can be slotted in, like Light of the Stages is really strong, and it's the Scorching Dragonfires. Even before you get the rares for the Knights, you can still go just the 10th Street Hooligans. So it's very budget. And so people aren't willing to spend money on Arena. That's their deck to grind of choice to help them get cards for other decks. You're going to see mono red a lot more on MTG Arena. We're talking 80% plus of the decks are going to be some sort of mono red or Embercleave spamming deck. And so I wanted a deck that actually can compete versus those, and also compete versus like blue-white control, which you're going to see the second most. So I'd put them in those 2 rank that you see, mono red, then U-white control. And that's not surprising, thinking that the Mythic Championship just happened, and those were the 2 of the top decks that were played there. And then you're going to see the Wilderness Reclamation, and you're also going to see Blue-Green Flash. Those would be the 4 top decks that I'm seeing the most of. Don't know where Blue-Green Flash came in. Maybe it's good versus blue-white control, not sure. I think it would have a terrible matchup versus mono red. Maybe if you play that matchup, maybe I'm off, but I don't see a way how Blue-Green Flash is beating mono red. So those are the ones you'll see the most. You'll see a lot of Enchantress is picking up, mono white is picking up, but at least for the top big 4 decks, it's some sort of blue-green, either the Flash or Ramp, blue-white control, and I put Jeskai Fire as a slight 5th. For whatever reason, that deck has fallen out of favor. I haven't seen a lot of it, and I have seen the Fire's Invention deck. I've actually seen as many Niv Mizzet and as many just the Super Friends version of Jeskai Fires that I've seen than just the classic Cavalier Fires deck. So don't know what's going on with that. Possibly just has a miserable matchup versus the field at the moment. Had a good showing at the Mythic Championship, but who knows. Anyway, so I was trying to find a deck that has a lot of play versus all of those. I was playing this one pretty religiously for a while, so you can tell that I'm at the 200. I keep bouncing between 600 to about 150. Been trying to crack that 100, but man, it's really, really tough. I keep getting matched up against 83 percenters or 87 percenters that are on Embercleave. And if they just get the lucky, that's another good thing about mono red, is if they get kind of the lucky 1, 2, 3 Embercleave, it's very, very tough for any deck, even with answers, to beat that draw. And so you'll be going up against those, and they'll get 2 lucky games on you, and then you'll just drop ranks like crazy. So you lose like 200-300 ranks, whereas you're only going to win like 15 off of them. So I've noticed that this season seems to be a lot more competitive in those higher end slots. It was pretty easy for me to kind of maintain the 100 plus ranking last season running the Sultai control. However, this time around, it's been very, very tough for me to hold that kind of spot. Sultai Ramp is in a very bad position right now. It has a miserable matchup versus mono black, or excuse me, mono red. Also has a miserable matchup versus mono black, but I digress with there. You don't really see that deck that often. But it's just a deck that I have given up on at the moment until we see more of like a Wilderness Reclamation, blue-white control meta, if that shifts back into favor. So I've been on this Temur Adventures list for quite a while. And the problem with this deck is it's not consistent. It has some very, very miserable hands. So it's one of those decks that I have been able to stay within the 200-300 rank on MTG Arena. But what I've noticed with this is the games that I'm losing are just the miserable hands. You mulligan a ton with this deck. It does have really, really good matchups against mono red and blue-eye control, but the Wilderness Reclamation and the Jeskai Fires matchups are pretty bad, and the blue-green Flash is also pretty bad in my opinion. You do have to establish an Edgewall Innkeeper or Lucky Clover quick, and then you have to keep those permanents out, otherwise you just get tempoed out. So I was dropping those matchups quite consistently, and the matchup versus mono red and blue white was also miserable. When you had an okay hand versus an okay hand, you're going to lose those matchups. If you had a phenomenal hand versus a phenomenal hand, you're gonna lose those matchups. When you had a decent hand versus a decent hand, that's when you win the matchups versus mono red and blue-white control, because it does have a lot of play against both of those decks with Brazen Borrowers. In fact, I started just putting 3 Aether Gusts in the main because Wilderness Reclamation, Jeskai Fires, Blue-Green Flash, and mono red Aether Gusts are live against in the main. And this deck also has a pretty good job of ditching cards through Fae of Wishes. So I do highly encourage you to continue, or if you are looking for a non-mono red, non-blue white, this deck is actually pretty decent in the meta. The sideboard is really just in here for Fae of Wishes. This is a good best of one deck to run because you can utilize your sideboard. Very strong cards like Nylea's Intervention that can turn a bad matchup into a good matchup. This can come in versus the Dream Trawlers, and that's a way you can actually guarantee to kill those Dream Trawlers. It also has Sorcerer's Spyglass and Shadow Spear that can take care of Dream Trawlers. So this deck is still, I've had a lot of fun, played the crap out of this deck. I've been playing a lot of Arena lately just to prepare myself for the Mythic Qualifier. Not sure if I'm going to go very far because we are really in a dice roll format, and those are the hardest to really control your destiny, is decks like Embercleave and Jeskai Fire spamming, where if they have their kind of their 1, 2, 3, 4 drop punch, Jeskai Fires, they have their 4, 5, of course, to throw the fires down, throw 2 Cavaliers down the next turn. It's very, very tough to beat those matchups, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I feel the same way about mono red, but I have been practicing trying to tune these decks, and this is a good go-to deck. Anyway, let's go back to the deck that I have been playing, and we'll play one quick matchup here before I have to get back to work. And this is my Finale Phoenix. I've updated this for the new meta. So this is also a really good best of one deck. It does suffer because I think that you get worse post sideboard versus many of the matchups. but it does have game versus the top 4, top 5. Has an incredible matchup versus mono red. Has an incredible matchup versus blue white. Has a reasonable matchup versus Wilderness Reclamation and Jeskai Fires, and has a decent matchup versus blue green ramp or blue green flash. And so I'm pretty 50-50 on the Jeskai Fires, the blue green flash, and I would say that I am the underdog versus Wilderness Rec, but it's definitely not unbeatable. The other two, the big two though, blue white control and the mono red, I feel very favorable versus those decks unless MTG Arena just wants to kick me in the nuts and not give me an Arclight Phoenix. So I've been noticing too with the shuffler, you have to dig for the Arclight Phoenixes. It seems like you always find an Ox of Agonas before you find an Arclight Phoenix in this stupid deck. So let's just go down the deck tech. This is just a very classic Arclight Phoenix build. So you're going to be running the card. The whole thing is you have to make Finale of Promise work in this deck. And so there are some cards that people haven't considered in other Phoenix builds. I've seen like Discovery of Dispersal builds. If you are going to be running those type of builds, you can cut the Finale of Promises completely. But this is the key card right now in the meta because it is extremely good versus mono red. It's going to get you above in the card advantage when you're shocking, lava coiling, and scorching dragonfire all their threats. That is only 10 cards total in your deck. They have more than 10 threats that you're eventually going to have to take care of, and so Finale of Promise is going to add another copy of each one of those when you do cast them and take care of multiple targets in one turn. So that is what I found to be the premier card versus those matchups. So Lava Coil is also extremely good because it takes care of both Annex and Torbran. In fact, it not only takes care of Annex, it completely gets rid of it, and so you don't get any tokens out of the Annex. Same thing as Scorching Dragonfire is an instant speed version of Lava Coil with 1 less damage, but it also can be targeted towards Planeswalkers, which is very relevant in the U-White control matchup, but also is really good against just exiling Annex. It's gone, it's done, it's not coming back. If they are running their Phoenixes, that's the other card that it can get rid of, and it's gone, it's not coming back, and it's pretty decent in that. Well, I mean, it's just a 2-mana removal spell. Very good at that point. So I've been messing around with the numbers of this. This is the deck that's been doing the best for me, and we'll just go down the deck list. You're going to be running Opt-in Shocks. These are the 1 mana that you're going to be hitting with the... I wish there was a 1 mana sorcery so you could actually cast Finale of Promise on just 1 mana, so for 3 mana, but I haven't really found a sorcery. If we can kind of look at the options here, haven't really found a sorcery that is fitting for 1 mana. So show converted mana cost 1 and see the options we have for us for sorceries. You have cards like Sleep the Dead, which isn't very great. Claim the Firstborn could be interesting in certain matchups, but you don't want to be like taking a creature. I mean, be possibly pretty good for like an Annex, like take an Annex and gets huge with claim, or take something that's been Ember Cleaved and then swing it against your opponent. Like those are kind of interesting, but some of the other ones you would like to cast, like Incubation and Incongruity, this would be awesome if it was just Incubation. I would definitely say slot this in the deck, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way with Finale of Promise with the converted mana cost of casting the Incubation. Same thing with like Invert to, well, Invert would be pretty terrible, and it's instant anyway. It's a sorcery card spot. But Carnival, same thing. It's not a sorcery. There are like Maximize Velocity that I have had in the deck before, but that's like a version you want to go higher up on the Crackling Drakes. And in this build, I'm not running a lot of Crackling Drakes. And there is cards like Reckless Strike that just aren't very good, or something like Satyr's Cunning, which I don't think is very good in this deck. So it's just not a lot of options for the 1 mana sorcery that we have in the format at the moment. So anyway, let's go back over here. So Op Shock are going to be your 1 mana instances. Shock, of course, is going to take care of most things at instant speed. It's pretty good versus UI control matchup too, because it's going to take care of a Teferi on 1 or an Narset that's been activated twice. Narset is kind of a pain for our deck because we have so much draw in this deck. I've added a 1 of Fae of Wishes. The reasoning for this is it's hard for me to justify not running a Fae of Wishes in any deck that can run it. This is probably my current favorite card. I've even added it in Sultai Ramp because it's just so good in the meta at the moment. Against Mono Red, if you just need to cast a 1/4 chump blocker, that is really good against the basically all of their cards in their deck. It's really just Bone Crusher Giant that it doesn't block in the deck. Everything else can block, and then you can actually discard Arclight Phoenixes to get it back to your hand. And it's like a really good late game grinder because it turns your 60 card deck into a potential 75 card deck, because you can just keep casting it, returning it by discarding 2 cards, casting it to find another threat. And you'd be very surprised in some matchups how grindy this meta can get. So I do like Fae of Wishes for that reasoning, to be able to utilize your sideboard and get another threat and whatnot. So our sideboard is going to be having non-creatures, by the way, in it. So Radical Idea is a 3 of in the deck. I do think that I prefer it over Shimmer of Possibility because it can get the Arclight Phoenixes in your graveyard. However, like, you need your sorcery count to be high, and you need to run the 4 Shimmer of Possibility. Speaking of which, Shimmer of Possibility, you would think doesn't have a lot of synergy in this deck. It's just sorcery. It's something that is just a necessary evil to add your sorcery count, because right now all you have is Lava Coils and Shimmers, and you do need a sorcery to target with your Finale of Promise. So Lava Coil also would probably be less copies than Scorching Dragonfire, but I've split them at 50-50 because of the sorcery is actually more relevant than an instant in this deck. Throw of Possibilities being an instant as well is something that is one of the better cards in your deck, because you can chuck away an Arclight Phoenix at instant speed and then set up your hand for the next turn. I'm running some 1-ofs in this deck, one being a Goblin Electromancer, because when you have the 1, it's super good. There's no point to have 2 in this deck because everything just costs 2 mana, other than like a Finale of Promise, which isn't that tough anyway, just to cast for 3 to get 2 drops back. So if you see the 1, you see the 1. If not, who cares? Not a big deal. We're not relying on Goblin Electromancer to really cast an early. Like, this is really cool, though, in your opening hand. A lot of times this can really lead to that turn 4 kill, and you can actually race the Wilderness Reclamation or the Jeskai Fires, because if you have a Goblin Electromancer, it can turn your Thrills and your Shimmers into 1 mana, and it's very easy to find your Phoenixes at that point when it's 1 mana versus 2 mana, and you can just dump everything, hopefully find some Phoenixes, get them all back, and attack in on turn 3 for a significant amount of damage. If you have 2 Phoenixes, that's 6 damage. On then turn number 4, you can actually hopefully get some more in, possibly do a lethal strike, and I've done that before plenty of times with opponents like shocking themselves with Shocklands. Brazen Borrower is another card that I like as a 1-of. It's another like potential threat, a potential grindy card, but you can actually use this for its petty theft to return something and get back your Arclight Phoenixes. So it's another instant to trigger towards the Arclight Phoenix stack. And then, of course, it can take care of Embercleaves, take care of a lot of like very annoying cards in this format. 3, the Royal Scions, another very good card to set up your deck, and it's also another win condition in this deck. So hilarious scenario just happened. I had 4 cards left in my library, was going to draw 1, and my Royal Scions was on 8. So I couldn't ultimate my Royal Scions. I had a bunch of Phoenixes in the graveyard, as well as an Ox of Agonas in the graveyard, 2 Throw Possibilities in my hand, and my opponent cast Narset. And it was the best feeling ever, because now I could ultimate the Royal Scions without drawing the cards and actually do lethal to my opponent, or go the other route by casting all the Throw of Possibilities in my hand and then getting back my Phoenixes out of my graveyard. So it was a pretty funny scenario that ended up happening. Anyway, I digress there. The Royal Scions is pretty good. You ultimate this card quite a lot, because if you're going against like control or mid-range decks, a lot of times they have to play the control route versus you, and if you can get out an early Royal Scions and tick up, then you can get up to 8 and do a bunch of damage to your opponent, draw a bunch of cards, and be back in it. So I like this card as a 3-of. It also does have some pretty good synergy with the Crackling Drake by giving it trample, and so if Crackling Drake is up to a huge number, which it quite possibly a lot of the times is in this deck, giving it trample and first strike is very, very good in the deck. Like, it can attack through a lot of cards that have significant power, and now you can first strike them down and actually trample over. The other card in the deck that I like as a 1-of is the Ox of Agonas. This card is pretty decent in a deck that's filling up the graveyard. You got to be careful, though. You need to be exiling cards that aren't pertinent at that point. Of course, you don't want to be eating Arclight Phoenixes or a lot of instants or sorceries that you are planning on casting with Finale of Promise. All right, so let's go over the mana base. Pretty straightforward. 4 Steam Vents and the 6/6 split of Mountain Island, and 4 Fabled Passages. You don't want any temples in this deck or gain life lands. You do not want lands entering the battlefield tapped whatsoever. Fabled Passage being the exception. A lot of times this can come in on turn 4 and come in untapped, and it is a card that does fill up the graveyard. All right, so let's go over the sideboard and kind of the matchup play. Aether Gust in here. I don't think it's necessary to bring in or to have in the main board versus like the decks. It's good. You can just bring them in as you feel needed. It's mainly a card I'd bring in versus mono red and blue green flash. I probably would not bring it in versus Jeskai Fires because it's kind of awkward with Teferi coming out than Fires of Invention. It depends on kind of the flavor of Jeskai Fires if the card is needed or not. Speaking of Narset and Teferi, Fry is where they're going to come in to play. It's very good to fry those particular cards. It can also tap down a Dream Trawler, force them to tap it down, which is extremely relevant in this deck when you're actually racing with them. And so on their turn, when they're planning to attack in, you fry it, tap it down, and then you can get in with your Phoenixes, or on your turn, fry it, tap it down, and then actually get in with your Phoenixes for the win. Improbable Alliance is pretty good to bring in versus any deck you need to go grindy. This is a card that I'm kind of bittersweet on. I don't know if it wants to be a 3-3 split with Saheeli or just wants to be cut. I thought about putting like a Jace in this slot because mill is relevant, or you can just have a more versatile sideboard. There are plenty of other cards that are decent in this sideboard that you can run. Flame Sweep is pretty good as a one of. It's a pretty good tutor as well for the fairy. I'll bring it in versus... Usually I don't like to bring it in versus mono red because it's really awkward. But I probably would bring it in versus mono red. You want to bring it in versus Rakdos Knights for sure because it's pretty decent at sweeping their board. And Ashiok Dream Renderer, you're really only bringing it in versus Doom Foretold decks or food or anything else. Or not food. Yeah, I guess food or sacrifice, I'd bring it in. But any other deck, there are some graveyard decks you'll run across every now and again, and this is a clutch card for that. 2 Saheeli Sublime Artificer, you're going to bring this in with the Crackling Drake in the sideboard here to give you more threats versus blue-white control. This card is a card that can get out of hand. It's also got the neat little ability of turning one of your colorless servos that might not have summoning sickness into a Crackling Drake that does have summoning sickness, and then swing in with that card or that servo in for lethal. I also have a one of Storm's Wrath in the deck just as another tutor, or I'll bring it in versus mono red definitely, and Gruul. You'll definitely bring this in versus Gruul. That's another one where Aether Gust will absolutely come in against is versus like Gruul aggro. Another Crackling Drake again with the synergy with the Saheeli Sublime Artificer, and you're pretty much good. Like the sideboard is definitely customizable. There are a few other cards. Like the one of Fling is in here just for the Crackling Drakes. It's another card you can bring in and give Crackling Drake pseudo summoning, not have summoning sickness. I thought about Maximize Velocity. There's another sorcery at 1 mana that you could potentially get back. It also has the Jump Start, which is nice because you can throw it in your graveyard and then have it, later on. But I still felt like Fling is a little more consistent. You might see Fling get replaced with Maximize Velocity. I don't think that either one of these want to be in the main. They're definitely a sideboard card. It's definitely the synergy with the Crackling Drake. So keep your eyes peeled for this. It might be a card that I will bring in instead of Fling, or maybe cut another card and put a Maximize Velocity in the sideboard. So anyway, that's kind of the long-winded deck tech. I know that we've gone a long time here. Some people appreciate the huge explanations. Some people just want to get to some games. We'll play some ranked games here. I'm just going to do some best of ones at the moment to try to show you some matchups here. So now I'm going to lose every game and lose all my rankings because I play absolutely terrible when I tried to commentate. Going to be this number 80 person. This hand is actually okay. We have Opt, Lava Coil, Thrill. So we have our bases covered against a plenty of other decks. The person is playing a Teferi Icon, so it's probably going to be Teferi. This is a card you absolutely want to cut post board versus any Teferi decks because Finale Promise is just miserable with Teferi. Teferi stops this card completely. Alrighty, so we'll just pass the turn to Opt on our opponent's turn. And... ooh, a green deck. So Switcheroo, we have a Teferi Edgewalled Innkeeper. That is going to get Lava Coiled as soon as possible. So, it's going to get Scorching Dragonfire instead. I don't know. Does Scorching Dragonfire actually take care of any of their... or Lava Coil does take care of their fairies. So I think Scorching Dragonfire takes care of nothing. So both these are kind of garbage. So Fairy, it doesn't take care of Lovestruck Beast, doesn't take care of Beanstalk Giant. I guess Scorching Dragonfire does take care of Bone Crusher Giant. So yeah, it's just Lava Coil here. So just Lava Coil the Edgewalled Innkeeper. Call that good. I don't want... usually I'd like prefer to go like the Thrill of Possibility or Shimmer here. This matchup's like okay. Like, I'm pretty 50-50 versus this matchup. Shocking themselves nice. Lucky Clover on turn 2 is going to be a card that's going to... Yeah, that's going to cause us some problems. I'm going to Shimmer here, and we're going to try to set up. We're going to try to find Arclight Phoenix. Unfortunately, this is all garbage. At this point, I think we can utilize another land. I hate to actually shuffle things back in, but Opt is also another option because we probably will hit another land here, and I think that gives us, yeah, that gives us something we can do. We'll Opt on our opponent's turn. So this is what I'm talking about. It's so hard to find Phoenixes. They're always buried. They're always, 17 cards down before we find the first one. Opponent's going the God Draw route. Every time I play this deck, I never get the Innkeeper, Clover, Beanstalk draw. But I'm just whiny. Finale of Promise. We don't need a duplicate Finale of Promise. I'm going to ditch this one. And we find our red source. So I'm glad that I actually did go the route that I did. We have some, bunch of cards on the bottom now that we don't have to draw into. We didn't shuffle our library, so everything is still on the bottom from Shimmer. So we're closer and closer to those Phoenixes, which we need to get out ASAP. So Lovestruck Beast is going to be rough because it's actually putting out 2 copies. This is not looking good for us. Yeah, so I think Finale is an okay play right now. I'd rather get like a Thrill in the graveyard. Like, what do we have here? We have Opt and Shimmer. And I think that that's fine for Finale. So we'll do Opt and we'll do Shimmer. And we really, so we want the Opt, probably the Shimmer to cast before the Opt. So that way we can scry with the Opt. Crackling Drake is going to be an okay card. This could actually be our saving grace. I'm going to take it. It gives us some play. Royal Scions is just going to get beat down by the Lovestruck Beast. So we're actually going to put it on the bottom. And there's no way I can actually stop the Lovestruck Beast. So we do find our first Phoenix. So the race is on. We're going to have to race this deck. Yeah, so my opponent does have the God Draw. So this is exactly what makes this deck really, really good. Hit some relevant cards off of the escape as well. I am super jelly because every time I play this deck, I cannot seem to get this 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. So we're taking some damage. Good news is our opponent didn't play anything. We could keep our opponent off of like the Lovestruck Beast with like shocks. I think we just want to run out the Crackling Drake this turn. So they can Brazen Borrower it back to my hand, but we only have 1 target. So I think that's fine. So Drake, and let's hopefully we just hit a land. We did not hit a land, but that's fine too. We got a Thrill to get our Phoenix in the graveyard. So Beanstalk Giant is probably coming down and they're going to fling us. So opponent's going to go grab a Fling. Possibly like a Aether Gust and a Fling. So really, really crazy broken hand my opponent had. Yep. So Aether Gust, and the second one's going to be a Fling, in my opinion. So had a Fae of Wishes in the hand. Disdainful Stroke, huh? Okay, so we're not getting flung. So opponent's just going to cast another Edgewell Innkeeper. And you're just going to cast the Fae of Wishes. So, okay, we need to go strong here. We need to do as much damage as humanly possible. We can kill the Fae of Wishes, shock off the Edgewell Innkeeper. We need to hit a land, though. We really, really need to hit a land. So, I think the only way we get out of this, we need the Phoenixes to come out this turn. So, I'm going to have to go Thrill of Possibility. Get rid of a Phoenix. Draw a land. We did draw a land. Cool. So we'll do the Fabled Passage because it doesn't matter. We need to do this correctly, though. So we need a red. So we're going to go activate this. We're going to get a red. Do I go to the face instead of the Edgewell Innkeeper, though, is the choice. It's definitely going to be Lava Coil. I guess I could Opt. So, Edgewell Innkeeper, I have to race, though. I think I go to the face. I really do. So, we have to go Lava Coil. to the Fae of Wishes. And I hate giving my opponent a ton of draws, but I don't know. They have a huge hand to begin with. So it's to the face. It is definitely to the face. We have to go to the face, get back a Phoenix. Unfortunately, it's only one Phoenix. Attacking with both. Opponent has to use an Aether Gust next turn. Disdainful Stroke is absolutely crap now. It's not going to do anything. So the draw we're worried about is if we get flung by a Beanstalk Giant. Dragonfire main, huh? Interesting. And so it's got to Aether Gust the Crackling Drake. At that point, we decline. We have to find Phoenixes now to get back. So I'm assuming, yeah, Lovestruck Beast is going to come down. And we're still in okay shape because the Aether Gust is gone. We're going to take 4 damage here. We need to find the other Phoenixes as soon as possible. So Shimmer is going to be nice. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm taking 9 damage. Brazen Borrower could be the other card in hand. So let's start off here. We know we're not going to run a Scorching Dragonfire. So let's just start off with the... No. Cancel this. We need the Thrill. Let's go with Shimmer. Let's go with Shimmer. It needs to find us another Phoenix. And we should have good odds to find another Phoenix. But we're playing our deck, so... We're not going to find another Phoenix. Royal Scions could buy us a turn, possibly. Fae of Wishes is not going to do it. Scorching Dragonfire, of course, is what we ditched. I'll take the Royal Scions. Not happy about this. Possibly just run it out. That will give us another draw. Like, we need to find... Yeah, I think that's the play. We're going to run the Royal Scions out. It's going to die, but it's going to absorb some damage, which might give us another turn. So we're going to draw. We're going to get rid of this Scorching Dragonfire. Ooh, we'll get rid of the Ox. It's fine. And then at this point, I think we do just play the Steam Vents 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because we do want to opt to set up some more stuff. Because I only cast Shimmer. Yeah, I only cast Shimmer and Royal Scion. So I'm not getting the... Oh, we don't have Phoenix anyway. I got Scorching Dragonfired. I still could easily just die to a Fling here. The Great Henge is going to be a little problematic. Mainboard Great Henge, too. Okay. Another Lucky Clover. Like, all of these cards are actually... My opponent has to have a Brazen Borrower. Yeah, I think my opponent does have a Brazen Borrower. If my opponent's smart, they should probably just go to the face. They are going to definitely go to the face. I go to 3. That also makes the option of shocking a lot harder to do. Okay, has the Bone Crusher. All right, so again, that was kind of a really, really god draw by my opponent. I mean, that's what's really good about the Temur Adventure deck, is when it does hit, you have answers to everything, and you can really grind out everything your opponent does. All right, let's play another one. Let's hopefully not lose rank. I think we played that the best we could have. Like, yeah, taking care of those edge... Well, drew 3 and Innkeepers, too. That's crazy. All right, so we're going against a Chandra icon, so it means they are a Embercleave spammer. We'll keep this. This is a super good hand. Don't like the Crackling Drake versus this matchup, but we have action. 3 action cards. Okay, they just go with Switcheroo. You guys switcheroo me. Chandra icon, and then... Now, that's a crappy card to draw right now. Yikes. We have a bad hand versus blue-white. Still nothing. We'll just pass it up. I think we're going to lose the jump here. No draw spells whatsoever. Yick. Yick, yick. Okay, pass it. We have at least a Crackling Drake next turn. I might just actually just Brazen Borrower in... Yep. All right, absorb it. You know you want to. Does not absorb it. So at least we're going to be able to get some damage in. We'll go ahead and attack in. I don't want to run a Drake into an absorb, though. I don't want to run a Fae of Wishes into an absorb. So I'm just going to Radical Idea right now. If they want to absorb this, it's fine. This also gives us another way to get rid of the Lava Coil. We won't run that out. Okay. Yeah, we'll still get rid of the Lava Coil. End the turn. Unfortunately, Thirst for Meaning, huh? That's fine. Well, it's not fine because it's really, really setting my opponent up. This is a card I have had in the hand before, or in the deck before, but it's just kind of awkward with Finale. It's another one that I would suggest if you want to run Thirst for Meaning, you would not run Finale. So opponent is passing. And we'll Radical... Ooh, not going to pass. All right, so we'll throw out a Radical Idea, getting rid of a Lava Coil. And I'm sure my opponent's going to bounce the Brazen Borrower. And so we'll shock off the Teferi, so that's fine. Yeah, that's super okay. That was a super duper okay turn for us. So we'll shock off the Teferi. Just get it out of there. Yeah, I know it can get back with... Probably do have an Elspeth here, Conquers Death, but it's actually better to get like a Crackling Drake killed than a Phoenix. So Elspeth Conquer Death probably gonna come down here, kill the Drake. Yup. So predictable. That's what was really bothering me about Standard right now is all these decks are super, super linear. And we are flooding, of course, because that's what happens when you play against mono blue. Or mono. So I'm actually going to get rid of another land, and we're going to Fae of Wishes here, and possibly get a good sideboard card. Unfortunately, I don't think I can cast it this turn. That's pretty meh. So, well, let's get another red. And, yeah, Fae is fine. We'll Fae of Wishes. And at this point, like, Fry is okay to get... Oh, we can get Improbable. We can put it out. Yep, that's fine. All right, now we're in okay shape. Except we need to quit drawing these Lava Coils. Good news is we have ways to ditch them. Narset. What a mean card. We can always just Brazen Borrow it, though, and then do our thing. And has another Elspeth Conquers Death. Womp womp. All right, so we just get a kill. Yeah, we just get a kill. Ooh, do I want to kill it here? We'll lose a Phoenix on Narset. We can bounce Narset. We can flash it in and kill Narset. No, because Teferi's coming back. Oh, and then this other Elspeth. So we don't want to run it into this Elspeth Conquers Death, unfortunately. We can Thrill on our turn, but then we still lose out on some stuff. I think our play here is just going to be Fae of Wishes. And we can get rid of this Lava Coil Island. And get another threat. Yeah, I don't want to run it into that Elspeth. I think we're going to lose this one. We didn't have a quick tempo draw. Like, this matchup can get very, very grindy. Teferi's probably going to bounce the Improbable Alliance. Now, the question is, would I want to... No, I can't even draw my second spell. So, that's okay, though. Dream Trawler coming out here probably is a loss because we're just too slow. Yeah, that's rough. So, what we're going to do is get rid of the Phoenix and the Lava Coil. To return this back to my hand. And... I think at this point, we could get like something with Fae. So, yeah, this is super rough. Got the lock going. Improbable Alliance is still okay. It's just this ridiculous Narset has just completely shut it down. So the only... Let's see. So we can Brazen Borrower Narset here and at least cast some of this stuff. This seems like a really, really bad play. Probably is a really, really bad play. But at least I can get like a threat out. Narset in the main. These decks these days. So we can go Improbable Alliance and then just Radical Idea. I think. Because I don't want any of these gone. I could actually thrill possibility and throw the radical idea in the bin. Let's go ahead and do that. But it's still, the Dream Trawler I think is just going to get us. We don't have the greatest outlook versus Dream Trawlers except for running out a bunch of Arclight Phoenixes, and they can just keep recurring, and that's how I've won most of the matchups here. Like I said, it's a pretty 50-50. I still think it's slightly favorable for the Phoenix versus this particular matchup. But having that Narset clutch on the turn, having, you know, the Elspeth Conquers Death ×2 is really, really rough. Now, do I block to save damage? I don't think I do. We need to actually dumb down to Fairy. Problem is now my opponent's going to have like a lot of absorbs and things like that. See, Finale Promise is something I still can't even use because of Teferi. Now, 3-mana open means there's an absorb in my opponent's hand. So let's Scorching Dragonfire, see if that actually takes care of Narset. Good news is, too, it gets exiled, but there's a secondary one. And that does get absorbed. So, what can we do? Finale Promise cannot be used because of Teferi. We can't Fae of Wishes for anything decent here. Yeah, we're just locked out big time. So, can't get... Yeah, we just have to attack in, though. We have to take care of one of these. Into the Fairy just so it can't bounce something. And then we'll end the turn. At least we can Radical Idea. No, we need a Fae of Wishes. We need to find something else that can get us out of this. I don't think there is anything, though. Like, we're going to go for a Storm's Wrath here. Because... Or a Fry. Fry is actually interesting. Yeah, Fry's better. But, I mean, Dream Trawlers just got too much advantage. Banishing Light. I'm actually glad to see that go because this isn't doing anything. Narset finds another Absorb, though. So hopefully our opponent casts Absorb on our Fry. Come on, opponent. You're only ranked 668. You know you want to Fry it. Or Absorb my Fry. Okay, so we can kill Narset. And that allows us to do a Thrill of Possibilities, which will probably get absorbed. Yeah, we want to Fry Teferi real quick. Which now gives us... Gosh, I got a Fae of Wishes for an Ashiok. Which now gives us a Thrill of Possibilities. Get rid of the Fabled Passage. That does get absorbed. But we did cast 3 spells. So we have a Phoenix that's going to come back. And I wonder... Yeah, we can Brazen Borrower that in his instant speed of... Oh, no! 1, 2, 3. Oh, I did not cast the 3rd spell. Womp womp. That was stupid of me. There's Narset. Okay. Narset's going to go grab some more. Nonsense. Ugh, finds Teferi? Are you joking? Ay, ay, ay. We'll go down to a possible... This could be lethal, actually, if my opponent has draws. Problem is, too, they get up to such a huge life total that it's tough for us to actually do enough damage to come back. So we will Brazen Borrower here. This should get absorbed. But my opponent is now out of blue mana. So that's actually relevant because we can get rid of Narset. Yeah. So we'll go 1-2 for the finale. We'll go Scorching Dragonfire because my opponent's out of blue mana. And we have a... That's awful, though. We don't have a Shimmer. It's still Lava Coil on the Dream Trawler. See if our opponent just taps a... I mean, my opponent just might... Yeah, that's fine. We got a card out of it. Now, do we need Fae of Wishes to be another blocker? I think I just want to keep this land in for... We did cast the spells this time, so we do get back an Arclight Phoenix. And unfortunately, no attack. I think we need to cast the Fae of Wishes to give us some more padding. Because the Arclight Phoenix is probably going to die to Elspeth Conquers Death. Yeah, opponents had another really good hand. I know I said that, I'm saying that on repeat, but this was a very, very strong... had a mix of all the cards. Ooh, on the Teferi. Yeah, because it wants to exile. Yeah, it's going to go Elspeth. Conquers Death. But it had, triple absorb, Narsets, double Elspeth Conquers Death. Really found this stuff early. Didn't really even have to dig for it. So that's going to get rid of the other Phoenix. So, or, wait, that's the first Phoenix that's dead. So we actually can still, theoretically, we could come back, but it's a very, very rough one. Ox is going to be very awkward, so we will shock ourselves because there's no point not to. Then we're going to Radical Idea. Because that just reduces the cost. Unfortunately, we can't cast that Thrill on anything. So we'll go Ox. And now you want to get rid of anything that's not relevant. So Fabled Passage, Thrill of Possibility. Lava Coil is probably not because we have double those in there. Fae of Wishes is a dead card now. Finale is a dead card. Brazen Borrower is a dead card. One of the Thrills is a dead card. And still need one more card. I would say it would be probably the other Thrill. Since we have this Thrill that's going to be going in the graveyard. Well, we survive, but there are like literally so many cards that beat us here. Like another Teferi, another Banishing Light, another... Elspeth Conquers Death. Brad Pitt, George Clooney beats us here. And there it is. All right, so I'll play one more. Whew. Like I said, it's rough when I actually start streaming these. I think I've been playing okay. I don't think there's any way I could get out of this. But this is just bad luck. Every time I hop on stream, then I lose rank like crazy. Or hop on our recording. We'll play one more. I like to keep these videos under about an hour before people start to get disinterested. Hopefully we can get a win here. Hopefully we can see the mono red. I keep talking about, Mom, we see mono red nonstop. It's just mono red. And we haven't gone up against a mono red deck yet. So let's see here. This is actually a keepable hand. We have, blue spell, blue spell. There's mono red. There it is. That's an awful, awful card. The Goblin Electromancer in this matchup. And with this hand. So we are not looking good right now. Runaway Steamkin is actually one of the better cards for them to play. Unfortunately, I got to ditch the shock. I hate doing that. It just hurts my soul. We do get the mountain. I think that it's okay just to get the Goblin Electromancer out here because it's going to require a removal spell. So my opponent can't like Annex and... Okay, you can go Fervent Champion. I'm not going to block the Fervent Champion. Might not matter because there could be a Bone Crusher Giant. Chandra's Pyrohelix. All right. This sucks. So we're going to be Brazen Borrowing back this. Yeah, that's going to be the play. Yeah, this is not looking good for us. Just a weird, like the throwing away that shock was awful. So let's just opt right now. I want a little bit more information of what's coming up. Fabled Passage I actually do want, but not with the amount of lands we have because we need red sources. Shimmer. No, we have to use Brazen Borrower this turn because this is a potentially lethal Embercleave turn, and I think that's what my opponent's going to go for. So we're gonna go past the blockers. Opponent's going to jump off Embercleave. It gets the +1/+1 counter. They're going to equip it to their Runaway Steamkin, blah, blah, blah. The problem is, too, with this Brazen Borrowers, they'll have mana now. Well, I guess it's in their attack phase. So we'll bounce it back to their hand. The problem is they have mana just to equip to the Fervent. Okay, so, I mean, that's something that could get us back in. Embercleave is going to the Fervent Champion for free. Dumb card. Why this card get out of design is beyond me. We'll go and throw the Shimmer, and hopefully Shimmer can find us one. Just we need one Lava Coil or a Scorching Dragonfire here, and then we're okay. We're actually in pretty good shape. But let's see what it can find. She finds a shock. I mean, I hate this play. I hate getting a shock. No, that actually works too. But that's the problem. We have to get rid of our Phoenix. So shock can happen. I'm just going to go ahead and I've learned my lesson with Infuriates. A lot of decks are running Infuriates, so I just like to get rid of it. And there's that. We still need another red source. We find another red source, we're in okay shape. Steamkin can't get equipped to Embercleave, but it can get... Ooh, nothing there. All right, so we do want to get rid of it. We absolutely do want to get rid of the Steamkin. So we're going to run out. I hate doing this right now as well because it just seems like a very early finale of Promise. But I do have a Shimmer in the graveyard as well as a Shock. So we're going to pay the 2. We're going to Shock and Shimmer. Autopay. Shock goes on the Runaway Steamkin, and we pray that they don't have enough spells to actually cast here. Because of this dumb flashback Embercleave card. Here we're going to grab a Scorching Dragonfire. Gives us more play against what they're going to do. And we hope to God we can find some cards to keep up the tempo with our opponent. Unfortunately, our land count is quite high. We haven't been able to put lands in the bottom or our graveyard. Our opponent just can continue to cast threat after threat. But we are... Like, this is actually looking pretty good. I shouldn't have played that land because I'm recording, and every time I do that, I do dumb mistakes because it's a good potential card for the Thrill of Possibility. Okay, we're okay. We found an Arclight Phoenix, though. So we could go for an Arclight Phoenix this turn, but I think I want to wait a turn and just flash in the Brazen Borrower. If that makes sense, because we need all the spells to actually cast the Phoenix, and we can actually Thrill of Possibility on our opponent's turn, too. So the odds of us actually getting the Phoenixes out are pretty terrible. Opponent, I have not a clue what the hell they have in their hand. 4 cards could just be all land and just having a bad draw. Could be duplicate Embercleaves. Okay, yep, that's fine. Shock on the Brazen Borrower. One less card for us to deal with. All right, so I do think we're going to go for the Phoenix draw this turn. So we're going to go Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard. And we need to find a Fabled Passage to shuffle back those Phoenixes that are on the bottom. We can go Radical Idea, because it's radical. Such an 80s word. And then another Thrill. I'm okay with the other Thrill to get rid of the Steam Vents. Only one Phoenix. Eee, there's some lands. Not going to play these lands. We're still really, really bad shape to anything with haste. Because our opponent can actually now cast the and equip the 2/2 haster. Yeah, we're not going to run these mountains out. You know what? I could probably possibly... I could run one because I could use a third source. Torbrin. Awesome. That's a card that we have an answer for. So we'll go ahead and coil it, and hopefully there's no Infuriate. There is not. And here we'll just... I don't think there's any point of doing it right now. We'll do it on our opponent's turn of ditching because it keeps up a Dragonfire that we can cast. Grim Initiate. Ugh. Oh, and that's really good with Scorching Dragonfire. Opponent's not going to be happy with another Exile spell, but they're the one playing the Cheese Embercleave deck, so they can basically get screwed here. We'll put it nicely. I don't know. I get it. You don't have a lot of cash. This is the easiest deck, but jeez, it's such an autopilot deck. It's such a boring deck. I hate mono red. Always hated mono red strategies. All right, there's an Arclight Phoenix now again. That's the perfect card to draw. So we'll just actually ditch the Phoenix. And people might disagree with this play, but we have a lot of ways to get this Phoenix back. I'm not going to go for it this turn, so we'll save up the Shimmer because, yeah, we can't cast it. Go ahead and attack. We'd easily still lose this match is the problem. Do you know what? Actually, Shimmer seems pretty good to use this turn. Okay, so Thrill is really good. Ugh, those lands going to the bottom, which is awesome. We will save Thrill, though, for next turn. Yeah, that's fine, because we can cast 3 spells next turn. Skewer the Critics is pretty terrible to run on an Arclight Phoenix. Love it. And, yeah, Thrill, we can just wait. No, we'll use Thrill right now. I'm okay with that. Get rid of this mountain. And we have a finale. Do we have targets for the finale? We do. Okay. So, plus discarding this Steam Vents. Finale. Onto. We definitely want Thrill of Possibilities. We have all 4 Thrills. Jeez. And then Shimmer of Possibility. We like our possibilities in this deck. So I should have named this deck the Phoenix of Possibilities. So we'll cast, it doesn't matter, the order, yeah, it doesn't matter. Get rid of Fabled Passage. Phoenixes are coming back. We have a Scorching Dragonfire for whatever our opponent puts out. Yick! We are running into some lands, but of course the Shimmer does well. At this point I could probably even use another land, to be honest. Yeah, we're going to be running into a lot of lands to discard, so I'm going to throw one out for even more mana. Our opponent scoops it up. So there's the mono-red matchup. You see how well the Phoenix deck does. Our opponent had some hiccups. I'm pretty sure my opponent has a bunch of removal in hand, so definitely not Infuriate. So I'm thinking of the cards that could still be in my opponent's hand they wouldn't have fired off. Duplicate Embercleave for sure, and then possibly some Shocks, or... yeah, that's probably it. I don't see him, holding up anything else. It's one of those ones where they did get the duplicate Embercleave draw. So we get a little bit lucky there. But they're also lucky not to have a bunch of lands at that point. So that's how the Phoenix kind of goes. Like I said, we've been gravitating in this 600 to 200 range. Hit into the low 100s. Haven't hit my goal of hitting back into 100s. I had a goal of hitting top 50, but it just doesn't seem. I need to play more of an all-in deck that you can go on these big luck streaks with to get there, because it's rough right now. It's super competitive for the amount of points that must be rolling around in the 200 or the 100 plus rate. And we hope you enjoyed this particular deck. I'm going to showcase some other decks of what you could be playing, hoping we can get people to be playing other decks. We're back to a standard which is, like, I thought this was good. At least the one thing that I like about the standard is it's possible to metagame. It's possible to build decks that aren't tier decks and be successful with them. And I'm okay with those standard environments existing, because it feels like before this, we've had like blue-green ramp. There's no way you're going to beat it, especially with Oko. It was completely busted. You weren't going to have any chance of building a deck that could have, a good matchup versus it. We kind of had that similar before Theros came out too, with the decks that existed from just Throne, Vildrain, and the Guilds of Ravnica's. And then the post-rotation before that, we had some miserable decks too that I felt were just really pushed, and it was very tough to meta against those specific decks. It does seem like I've been very successful with a number of different decks. I even put my Gruul Seasons Past deck. I've seen some Enchantresses decks that have been doing pretty good, some mono whites, and so you actually can meta right now and be successful. Very disappointed with the Mythic Championship that there's only 4 decks in the entire, I guess there was 5 decks in the Mythic Champions, about a 16 players. So everyone was on duplicate decks, which is, it's I guess that's pretty reasonable for 16, but still, it was the same old run-of-the-mill decks. But, I mean, that is the silver lining for this standard. You can be successful. It is annoying to go up against Embercleave all day long, but you can punish them with cards like Brazen Borrower and Aether Gust in your main, or just play decks that really, really interact very well with the mono-red strategy. That seems to be the thing, is you can keep them down. If you can keep them off their threats, which is very reasonable, you can keep them from, playing their Embercleave strategy. But it's still quite annoying with the amount of light up the stages and Torbrands that give them an entirely different angle of playing mono red that we haven't seen in the past, when decks like that used to just kind of flame out. So if you could just get to turn 4, turn 5 and stabilize, you were fine. And now it even seems like if you're playing a mid-range deck, they can go over the top of you with like an Annex Embercleave. Anyway, I'll quit rambling and get back to work. I hope you enjoyed this video. Still need to talk about Challenger decks for Market Monday. We're way late on that. Maybe I'll get a video later on. Who knows? Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder. We'll be doing a fundraiser too. I'll be showing that on my 3rd channel. We want to start doing product reviews. So if you're interested in that, check that out. I'll have a video more about that. Thanks for watching.